What's going on, guys? This is Zan Darkness here, aka Eddie Proper, here with another awesome deck profile. Today we have another profile. This time it is the Ignister deck. Ever since the new support in Lightning Overdrive that came out, this deck has gotten a ton of popularity, a ton of momentum, and I am here to explain my take on the deck. I have been working on this deck for a very long time, for about 9 months since the support was announced in Japan, since even the first cards were announced. So if I use the OCG names, please be aware I will try to correct myself and say the TCG name, even though my deck is in French. I'll explain everything the best that I can. If you like this video, please share, subscribe, please share the word, because I feel this deck is very good, and with the new July 1st, 2021 ban list, this deck can be very, very strong, especially given our current meta. So let's get into it. So first we got our monsters. We're running 3 copies of our Achichi Ignister. He is our Shadows for the deck. If he is normal or special summoned, you can search your deck for 1 level 4 or lower Ignister monster. Then at the start of the damage step, if this card is in your graveyard and your monster is battling an opponent's monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard at the start of the damage step, destroy your own monster. Now a lot of people may think that effect is useless, but because it's at the start of the damage step, no damage will be dealt and no replay will be dealt, because it is no longer when an attack is declared. So that card is very good. It also co-works with Fire Phoenix Ignister, so it can trigger the destruction effect, and it can also trigger its reborn effect on the next standby phase. So Achichi is very good at 3 because it starts your whole combo off. Another starter is our Picari Ignister. Picari, if it's normal or special summon, you can search your deck for 1 I spell or trap card. They're AI spell or traps. I'm going to call them I because the main character here, his name is I. That's what the deck's based off of, so you can search your deck for any I spell or trap card. If it's on the field, you can target 1 other Ignister you control, make it level 4. So it's great for overlaying for Light Dragon Ignister. It's also very good for if you're running Hiyari, you can target it, make it level 4, then link those 2 off for an update gem replay if you want to go that route. Very good at 3 as well, because it's one of your starters. We're going to go into basically this is our complementary Ignister monster, even though it's not really an Ignister monster, running 2 copies of Parallel Exceed. A lot of players are wondering why I'm running 2 and not 3. After tons of testing, 3 can get really cloggy in your hand, especially if you're trying to go second. You only want to see 1 copy of this, and running it at 3 is very good, but at the same time, if you open up 2 copies and no way of using it, it can become very dead in your hand. So I've decided to only run Parallel Exceed at 2. Continuing with our Ignisters, we have 1 copy of Doyan Ignister. If Doyan is normal or special summon, you can target 1 Ignister monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, and if it's used for the link summon of a Cybers monster, you can target 1 I spell or trap card in your graveyard and add that back to your hand. So basically, double recursion. 1 copy of Bururu Ignister, the Tuner. If it's normal or special summoned, you can send 1 Ignister monster from your deck to the graveyard. And if you Synchro Summon for a Cybers type monster, you can target 1 of the monsters that was used for the Synchro Summon, except for Bururu, and special summon it back to your field. So, very good. Also helps out with your main combo later on. Then I run our Hiyari Ignister as a 1-of. Hiyari, if you control an Ignister monster, you can summon it straight from your hand. You can tribute 1 other Cybers monster, make it level 4, and if you do, search deck for 1 level 5 or higher Ignister monster. So in this case, Gatchiri Ignister. You'll see why, and I will explain the whole reasoning behind that later on. The other part of the effect is if you tribute a Link monster, you can search deck for I's Ritual. But I am not running the Ritual at all. I am only running, literally, this is the only level 5 or higher Ignister monster I'm running. So this only searches out this. So it's basically just an extra extender. Very good still because it's an extra attribute. Speaking of which, our Gatchiri Ignister, I only run 1 of this as well. You can target 1 Cybers effect monster you control, negate its effects, then summon this card from your hand. Also, while it's on the field, the first time each of your Cyberses would be destroyed by a card effect, they're not. So if you have him and 3 others, each of them have 1 protection, kind of. So they can try to kill Gatchiri with an effect protected. They can try to kill 1 other with an effect, they can't. So it's very good for protecting your whole field, and it's great for when you reborn this off Idle Reborn. It helps out tremendously. It really does. It's a huge protection effect. And then its other effect is if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one monster you control. That target is unaffected by your opponent's effects until the end of their turn. So it's very good for a combo midway through, especially if you're going for your access code OTK. This can basically make your access code invincible, as undurable, and because access code talker, you cannot respond with any effects. This is very good to use with it because then it all forms one chain and it's invincible. It's very good. So that's all of our Cybers at Ignister monsters. Next, we're going to go into our hand traps. Monster-wise, I should say. We have our 3 Nibiru, the Primal Being. I mean this last format. This is pre-banlist format. Just want to let you know. I will be taking this out after the banlist switches. I'll probably be running something more useful, like possibly Droll Lockbird or something that can just affect the meta more. But I feel Nibiru is one of those cards that there are metas it's good, there are metas it's bad, it's 50-50. It really depends on what decks you're playing, what's prevalent, what's really ruling. Before it was Dragon Link, it was Dino, it was Tri-Brigade, like those decks got hit, but they're still there. Like even Zodiac, like this deck, this would like stun Zodiac, but Zodiac won't even be a thing anymore. If anything, they're just an extra extending engine that could possibly make a Dragoon for free, or if anything, they can't even make the Utopic Dragon Future package anymore because with Dryden banned, they can't pop their Ram and bring back their Xyz as their second link or Xyz material to make Utopic Future and then go into Dragon. So doing that therefore effectively shuts down that combo unless they open up, like, let's say both Ram and Barrage. If they open up both of those, then, well, unfortunately that's that. But anyways, I digress severely. Nibiru, everyone knows what Nibiru does. If your opponent summons or 5 or more monsters during main phase, tribute everything face up on the board, summon it, you'll give your opponent a token. Token's got attack and defense equal to the original attacks and defense of everything tributed. So they're running 3 copies of Ash Blossom Joyous Spring. Self-explanatory. Opponent activates a card or effect that pretty much is anything that involves your main deck, like adding, sending to the graveyard, summoning from it. You discard this, negate it. Negate the effect, by the way, not the activation. Wanna bring it up because next card does negate activations. Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion. Same thing as pretty much as Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom. I just called her Ash Blossom. I don't know why. Anyways, so yeah, Ghost Spell. Anything that goes to the graveyard, discard does negate the activation. So you can use this during damage step, you can't use Ash during damage step. So the 3 effects are if your opponent adds a card from the graveyard to the hand, or to the deck, or to the extra deck. Is it extra deck? Yeah, extra deck. Wow, it is extra deck. Wow, that's good. Summons a monster from the graveyard, or banishes a card from the graveyard. So everyone knows that it does. Super explanatory. Alright, that's all the monsters the main deck has. On to the spells. 3 copies of our Silent Mining, our beautiful search spell. Basically, you send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, search your deck for 1 level 4 or lower Cybers monster. Basically, one of your other starters. Now for one of our new starters. The OCG name for this card was When I First Met You, but they changed it to I Meet You, which, I'm sorry Konami, this is the dumbest name change you have probably ever done. Sorry. So, you reveal 1 Cybers monster with 2300 attack in your hand or from your extra deck. And if you do, you search your deck for the corresponding Ignister with the same attribute. So you can reveal, let's say, Access Kotalker, which is a dark attribute. Search your deck for Doyon. You can reveal Trans Kotalker, search out Gachiri. You can reveal, if you're running it for some unknown reason, Shooting Kotalker. You can search out Hiyari. Basically, anything with 2300 attack, it's a Cybers. You reveal it in your hand or extra deck. You search your deck for whatever Ignister has the same attribute. After you activate this card, after it resolves, you're locked into only using Cybers affect monsters effects. Also, during the end phase, if you don't summon the monster you reveal, you take 2300 damage. So, the monster that you reveal, like let's say if I reveal Fire Phoenix, but don't summon Fire Phoenix, I take 2300 damage. So you always really want to reveal Dark Templar with this. Let's see. For last format, a lot of the back row decks and a lot of back row were problematic, such as Prankus Pandemonium, Shadow Schism, Dragonmaid Tiding, basically anything that could possibly mess my deck up. And because my deck is actually a go second deck, not a go first deck because I don't run Damari, I geared this deck to go second, so I wanted to have some sort of back row removal, but I feel Cosmic Cyclone was not enough, and I feel Lightning Storm is, I hate to say it, it's too slow. It's good, but it's too slow. So I decided to make 3 copies of Twin Twister. We discard 1 card, target up to 2 spelling traps on the field, destroy them. It's really good, especially if you have Island on your hand. You can discard Island, destroy your 2 cards on your opponent's side of the field. So if they have a Schism or a Pandemonium, you can use this in the standby phase. They can't respond with it because you can only use those cards in the main phase. So it's very good to knock those cards out. Very good to establish board control with those cards. Next, I run 2 copies of the spell Idle Reborn. You can target 1 Ignister monster in your graveyard, special summon it. For the rest of the turn, though, you can only summon Cyberse monsters. If this card is in your graveyard and an attack is declared involving 2 monsters, you can banish this card from your graveyard and a card from your hand, then target 1 of your eye, spell, or trap cards that's either in your graveyard or banished, except for Idle Reborn, and add it to your hand. So this is very good for recursion, for returning your spells. You can use this to get back When I First Met You. You can use it to get back the field spell if they banish it off of Cosmic Cyclone. It's very good for recursion. And a lot of lists that I've seen are playing 1 now, and I still feel 2 is very good because this is a searchable extender. It's very good if you're going first. It's great playing through Droll, especially now when we're moving into a slower format, I feel. I mean, it feels like we're going to a slower format, but at the same time, I feel like we're going to keep the same speed and momentum that we had last format. So this at 2 would be great, especially if you're playing against Droll Lockbird, which I think will become more prevalent in the next meta. So that's my reasoning with 2 Idle Reborn. Next up, we got 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. I want to run 3, but again, the whole reasoning with that is like Parallel Exceed, it breaks at 3, and I feel like 2 is just perfect. It's bread and butter. I like it. It's not too much. It's not too little. You can see it. It's great. If you don't know what it does, is basically Change of Heart, Pot of Greed, and a Forceful Sentry. You can choose one of those 3 effects if your opponent activates a monster effect during the main phase. Only the main phase. So either main phase 1 or 2. Basically, what I use this card for if I'm going second is if they ash a part of the combo, but I have another piece to keep going, I'm going to use this to look at their hand, and I'm going to snipe out an Nibiru or a Droll or something that I don't want them to use next turn following up to get me back. Because if I can't kill them that turn, I need to focus on the recurring turn next. So this card helps me plan my gameplay for the rest of the turn and for the next 2 turns in case I can or can't kill them. This is the whole reason why I run this card, and honestly, I feel like I'm going to try 1 Idle Reborn and 3 of this and test it and see how it goes. But again, 2 and 2 have been working great for me. Every single local I've gone to lately, I've literally gone 3 wins, 1 loss. And the 1 loss, it's either I brick or because I take them to game 3 and it's just I lose momentum or steam. But we're going to try to adjust that with the next ban list that came out. Try to make it more fluid, more friendly, more consistent. Less bricky, basically more of a healthy mix of hand traps and starters. So, next up on our list are 2 copies of our field spell, Ignister Island. So, this is going to be a lot, so I'm going to try to simplify it as much as I can. If you got Sky Striker conditions, so nothing in your main monster zones, you can summon 1 level 4 or lower at Ignister from your hand. For the rest of the turn, though, you can only summon Cyberses, which the whole deck is Cybers related. It's not really a thing. Also, you can't summon the same attribute with Ignister Island's effect that turn. So if I summon Achi-Chi off of Island, I can't summon another fire attribute. If I summon, like, Hiyari, I can't summon another water attribute, etc., etc. But, like, let's say if I use this to summon Hiyari, I can still use Hiyari's own effect to summon itself. Or I can reborn Achi-Chi. It doesn't lock me out of summoning that monster for the rest of the turn. It just locks me out of summoning the monster with Ignister Island's effect. And the best part about this card is it's not once per turn, it's once per attribute. So the most, you're resolving this card at least 4 to 5 times a turn, which is beyond amazing. It is a 5-card extender. Like, this card is ridiculous. I thank you for inventing such an amazing card that based off your Ignis. I love it. Thank you so much for being an amazing character as well. Speaking of the field spell, we're running the 1 of Eye Contact. And everybody's going to hate me for this card, But I always live by this card. This card is such a great card to go into in a grind game. It helps you replenish your hand. And if you don't know what it does because it's French, if you have Ignister Island in your field spell, you can reveal another copy of Ignister Island in your hand, put it back to the bottom of your deck, and then draw 3 new cards. So it's a better product read, it's searchable, it's recurable. You can get all the cards you need if you open up any one of these as a one-of in your opening hand, along with one of your starters and an extender. So you're at most replenishing your hand and having 5 extra cards to play with through the rest of your turn. So this card is just amazing, and if anybody doesn't play this card, I'm sorry. This card is just too good not to play. It's searchable, recurable. I've resolved this card at most 4 times in a duel, drawing 12 cards. It's just unfair every single turn, and it's not even that I can't kill them. It's just they try to kill me and I recur, and then I try to kill them but they recur, and I'm just drawing 3 every turn while I'm doing it because of Doyon. And Doyon is just too good because Doyon can recycle infant and everything. It just keeps your combo going. It's insanity. It's so good. It's perfect. It's amazing. Please run it, honestly. If you really like this deck, please consider running that. It's such a great addition. And the last 4 cards I'm running, there's the 3 traps and the 1 last spell. 1 Call by the Grave because I don't like dealing with Troll Lockbird. I don't like dealing with Ash Blossom, Ghost Spell, Skullmeister, anything graveyard related, even Erratic Spheres, as stupid as it sounds, because it not only stops their tribute to bounce effect, it stops their summon effect. So it's definitely good if you open it. I mean, they're probably going to do something to stop you with it, but that's why we have this card to force through their gates. This was Forbidden Droplets, but I'm selling them because of future reprints, so we're going back to an Infinite Impermanence. Plus, Infinite Impermanence isn't once per turn, and you can drop it on your opponent's turn. So if you open up 2 of these suckers, you can basically go drop, and with Dragon Link now losing a lot of their engine, you can really do a lot of stun with this card. So never doubt the Infinite Impermanence. It is still a very good card in this format, I think, personally. I think Droplets is better infinitely, especially since you can send the field spell. But again, Droplets are getting reprinted. I like money, so let's just yeah. Maybe when they drop from like 100 to like 50 or something, or 40, like Appaloosa did, then I'll pick some up. But that's our main deck. Yeah, for our extra deck. So here is our awesome extra deck. So we're going to start with, don't mind the tokens. We're going to start with 2 copies of Dark Infant at Ignister. Basically, it's 1 non-link at Ignister monster, so you can use anything. You can use the Ritual, the Synchro, the XCs. You can use a main deck monster. You can even use Format Skipper revealing this card, which is very good for chain blocking Ash if you're afraid of that. So, if you link summon this card, use search deck for the field spell. Because why not? Every deck wants a Baylynx and a Striker Dragon. Why not give us our own? Also, if this card is in the main monster zone, because it only works in the main monster zone, and you activate a Cyberus monster with 2300 original attack, you can move this card over 1 and change its attribute. Now, the thing about this card is it's a quick effect. So, if you activate this card, if you want to use this card, it's like Thunder Dragon Titan, where if they activate a card in response to you activating your Cyberus monster, you're chain blocking this card from activating. So you have to be wary about using this card's secondary effect. The only time you really want to use this card's secondary effect is if you're trying to go for infant or for arrival. Even then, you just want to resolve the move effect over in my version. Because if you're forced to go first, you can still end your board with a Quantum Dragon Abramax. I call it the Quantum Max lock. It's very good. Your opponent can attack. They can only target Quantum Dragon with effects. It's very, very good lock, honestly. Like, it hardly loses to a lot. And if they Kaiju or Underworld Goddess you can still use Abramax to spin your card because it's sent by your opponent's card. The last 2 link ones I'm running are Lingeribo because I don't like trap cards. And I've used this card to play around with so many people who try to use trap-based decks, and it's just so free. And it triggers your Parallel Exceed as well, so it's always good to run that. And then your Link Spider, because as much as I don't like Nibiru, I can't always snipe it out of my opponent's hand. Or if I try to snipe it, they usually have 2 copies. So I'm like, Well, I'm gonna run into a Nibiru anyway, so let's get rid of something else. This card is the counteract to Nibiru. Basically, it's one normal monster, so they give you a token, you link it off, you summon this, you trigger your Parallel Exceed, or you just use it to free up your extra monsters, or your main monster zones. That way you can summon it off of Ignister Islands effect again. If you don't know what this card is, basically, if your opponent activates a trap card, you can tribute this card, negate that effect, and if you do, banish that card. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can tribute one, add Ignister that was summoned from the extra deck, quick effect, summon this card back. So in a way, it's like Link Karibo, but the same way it helps against traps, so it's very good. Next up, as our Link 2s, we're running our Link 2 Splash Page. 2 Cyberses. You can target one Cyberse in your graveyard, summon it in defense mode. For the rest of the turn, you're locked into Cyberse monsters. The monster you summon obviously is negated, and you can only use Splash Page's effect once per turn. Another one we're running is Update Jammer. 2 level 2 are hybrid Cyberse monsters, so again with the Hiyari play, it's very good, especially if you have Gachiri, so you can get that working. If this card is on your field, here it attacks, it basically makes it so it resets all conditions and uses the original attack and defense. So your opponent's effects can't be activated or their effects are negated. You don't really use it for that effect. I'm going to be completely honest with you. The only reason why we're using this card is if it's used for link material, the monster that you use for its link summon gains a secondary attack during the battle phase. So this card is only good for giving our big monsters 2 attacks. That's basically the point of that card, and I'll explain the combo later on. Then we got Cyberse Wicked. It's 2 Cyberses. Link summon card can be destroyed by card effects. Also, whatever it points to can't be destroyed by card effects. If a monster is special summoned to the zone it points to, you can banish a Cyberse from your graveyard, and then add 1 Cyberse tuner from your deck to your hand. Quite frankly, because I'm running the Synchro Wind Pegasus at Ignister, I've really been considering cutting this card for Salamangreat Almirage to make better use of my dead hand traps in my hand. I have to do more testing, honestly, because I like Wicked, but at the same time, I feel like Wicked just doesn't come up again. Or I usually have Boobaroo, so it's like, why do I have Wicked in the extra if I can just run some nails? So, that's all of our Link 2s. Now for our Link 3s. Our big boy, Dark Templar at Ignister. 3 monsters with different names. If a monster is summoned to the zone it points to, including a damage step, which is amazing, you can summon level 4 or lower at Ignisters to the other 2 zones it points to, or the other zones it points to, I should say. So if you happen to clear the zone that you trigger its effect with, you can summon back 3, which main point is you summon here, 1, 2, bounce over, 3 zones, summon back 3. That's the whole point of it. So, if you summon back, you can summon back level 4 lower Ignisters to the zones it points to, but their effects are negated. And if this card destroys the opponent's monster by battle, you can target 1 Cyberse monster in your graveyard, basically summon it to your field. So, you can use this to destroy your opponent's monster and bring back monsters. You can use it for basically a free soul charge. This card is just very good to use. It is very strong. It's 2300 original attack, so you can reveal this with when I first met you, or I meet you, whatever you want to call it, honestly. Like, I really don't care at this point. Whatever you want to call it. But you can reveal this card, search out Doyon. So, that's very good. Then we have our Link 3, Fire Phoenix at Ignister. 2+ Cyberse monsters. To start a damage step, if this card attacks, instead of dealing battle damage that battle, you can inflict effect damage to them. So if you're attacking a defense position monster, you can hit them for 2300 and still kill their monster. And if this monster is destroyed by an effect, you can destroy 1 monster your opponent controls. So if they destroy this card, or if they destroy this by a card effect, you can destroy a monster they control. Only by card effect, though. And if this link summon card is destroyed during the next standby phase, you can summon this card back from your graveyard. So like a regular Phoenix, it comes back once. So, very good. I only run it... Actually, I can't say I only run it to reveal for Achi-Chi, because it's the fire attribute, but in very few games, when they're at like 1500 life points, because for some reason I just whittled them down, and they have a big beater, I'll just be like, Link Summon Fire Phoenix, attack, damage step, burn for game. Like, it's just a free win. Especially during, like, time, if you can just, like, work your way into the battle phase, you can literally swing at them, hit them for 23, and you'll take less than what they just took. So you can just end the battle phase and get that free win. So it's very good in clutching time. If people don't think it's good, it's very good. It's just a lot of people don't really use it. Oh, and the best part about him is that you can trigger that with Achichi. If your monster battles, so let's say Fire Phoenix is battling, you can banish this card if you're attacked, destroy your own Fire Phoenix, pop their monster, then during your standby phase, bring your Fire Phoenix back out. So it's very good for being able to avoid your opponent's cards, especially if they have a big monster you can't get over, or you can't destroy it by battle, or it's stronger than you. You can always just use Achichi to basically freebie out it. It's like a free, boop, bye. Then for the last Link 3, we run Transfer Talker. 2 plus effect monsters. You can target one monster, Link 3 monster in graveyard, summon to the zone it points to. You can't summon except for Cyberses for the rest of the turn. If it's cold linked, its cold linked monsters gain 500 attack. Also, they can't be targeted by effects. So it's very good for that. You can only use Transcode Talker's effect once per turn, and if you use Transcode Talker, you are locked in for the whole turn for Cyberses. So you can't go like summon the I don't know why, but like summon the Bureau or something weird and then summon Transcode Talker and use the effect. You can't do that. So you gotta be wary when you're using Transcode Talker. So most of the time you're already summoning Cyberses, so like it doesn't really matter, but still. Then lastly, for our Link 4s, we're running Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax. Big boy, can't be targeted by effects, creates half the attack lock. If it's attacked, you can use its effect if it's battling special summon monster and boost it by whatever attack it's got, and if it's sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, so Kaiju, if it's sent to the graveyard as link material for their underworld goddess, if it's just removed somehow and sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle a card on the field back to the deck. Very good for, very, very good in general. Then lastly, Seize the Wind to the Exo World, Playmaker himself's card, Access Code Talker, use it for a Link Summon, you gain 1000 attack for whatever Link monster's Link rating you use to Link Summon it, and then you can banish different attributes of Link monsters in your graveyard or field, pop cards in the field. When you use this effect, your opponent can activate cards or effects. So very good to use with this, so you get 4300 double attacking. So 8600 damage, and you can pretty much get them per game. And yeah, your opponent can activate anything in response to either effect. So when you're using Gatchiri with it, you're building an invincible chain, and you're building an invincible access code talker. So unless they got like Solemn Strike, Solemn Judgment, Solemn Warning for the initial summon, you're getting a free access code talker, and you're just plowing them in for game. So that's it for our Link monsters. Next up, we're running our Wind Pegasus at Ignister as our synchro. Also our search target for Bururu. Level 7 Wind Monster, Cybers. If during the main phase you can destroy spell and trap cards your opponent controls up to the number of Ignister monsters you control, doesn't target and it destroys at resolution, so you can force them to play their cards and you can still blow up whatever you need to. Very good for that. And if it's on your field or in your graveyard and another card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card, shuffle one card your opponent controls back into the deck. So very good for forcing your opponent to really think about their plays, especially if this card is chilling. They have to worry about running into this and forcing one of their cards to get shuffled, especially if you use it for link material. So then the other synchro I run is Cybers Quantum Dragon, my personal favorite synchro monster in the entire game. You can judge me otherwise, I don't care. This is my favorite card. So it's basically, while you control a Link monster, your opponent cannot target any monsters you control for effects, except for this one. Also, your opponent can't target any monsters you control for attacks, except for this one. So it's the other half of our Crusadia Mech Knight Airmax lock. With these two, it's basically Marauding Captain lock, Magician's Valkyrie lock, whatever old school lock you think of that thinks of, you can attack, basically. So, and if you are trying to target with an effect, you have to target Quantum. And the other thing about this card is, at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can return that monster to the hand, and then this card can attack again right in a row. So if this card's even in defense when they attack it, you can just shuffle it back to your hand. Only downfall about that is it's only once per turn effect. So if you return it once, you can't return it again, which, sad face, honestly, but really, like, it's not bad. And then lastly, we're running our light search target, Light Dragon at Ignister, 2300, 2 level 4 monsters. let's see. You can only use each effect of Light Dragon at Ignister once per turn, which both effects are: you can detach one material, destroy monsters, face-up monsters your opponent controls, up to the number of Ignisters you control. Again, non-targeting, destroys a resolution like Wind Pegasus. Only downfall is destroys face-up monsters, so you have to worry about that. And the other effect is, if another Cyberse monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target one Link monster in your graveyard and special summon that back to your field. The last effect of this card is, it's a continuous effect. It's a mini Dingirsu. So if any of your monsters would be destroyed by a card effect, only card effect sadly, you can detach one to save it instead. So if they try to Regeki you, you can detach, save all your monsters. It's very, very good for that. So definitely worth running. Especially since it's your Bakari search target. I don't know why you would search Bakari off of I Meet You, given how you usually search I Meet You off Bakari. But I've seen people play so weird, and sometimes they play through Nibiru or Droll, and I'm like, it's cute, but Idle Reborn's a card too, so I digress. Alright, so on to our side deck. Now, this is ever so changing. I can't say this side deck will stay the same for this weekend's tournament, but I will say this side deck is very, very good. I've tried it a lot, and I like how it is. I like how it flows. It's very good. So we're starting off with our monsters. We're running 3 copies of Artifact Lancia and 3 copies of Droll Lockbird. I'm probably going to switch that with Nibiru in the main deck. You all know what Lansky does. It's a once per turn Imperial Iron Wall during your opponent's turn. And Droll Lockbird is, your opponent adds a card from deck to the hand, you discard it. Neither player can add any cards from their deck to their hand, so it stops any sort of combos your opponent has. Very useful, very good utility for in case your opponent tries to search, or if they're playing like Dragon Link, or if they're playing a mirror match of Ignisters, you stun their whole turn. So only skilled players like me that have played the deck very, very, like, you know, meticulously know how to play through Droll Lockbird. So if you know how to play through it, you play through it. If not, it's a very good card to have. It stuns noobish players. Hate to say it. The next cards up are our spells. We've got 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster and 2 copies of Lightning Storm. I only cite these cards because, as much as I like them, they're only good against certain decks. So I'm only citing them in case I have to deal with said relevant decks. Harpy's Feather Duster is just a blowout. Lightning Storm, if you control no face-up cards, you can either Regeki all face-up monsters your opponent controls that are in attack position, or you can destroy all face-down monsters. You can destroy all back row your opponent controls. It's one of the 2 effects. It's very good. So basically 3 copies of it, in case you need it. I like Harpies because you don't have to worry about a restriction with it. And for our traps, we are running 1 copy of IQ. While this card is face up on the field, you can actually, sorry, let me back up a little bit. You can only activate this card while you control an Ignister monster. While this card is face up on the field, each player can only link summon once per turn. So it's a summon limit that's searchable and recurable for Ignisters. It's only good against certain decks like Prank Kids, Dragon Link, anything that basically link summons. You can use this to effectively shut that deck down. During the standby phase, you can tribute a Link monster or destroy this card. It's not like Imperial Order, so you can choose to destroy it and then recur it back, set it, flip it again. It's free. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's a good card. Then we run our Solemn Brigade of 2 Solemn Judgments and 3 Solemn Strikes. Judgment, obviously, opponent activates card. If a spell trapper someone tries to summon a monster, you pay half your life points, say no. This card, your opponent activates a monster effect or tries to special summon a monster, you pay 1500, negate the summon and or activation of the effect and destroy it. Very good for stopping Dark Ruler no more, very good for stopping permanent droplets because nobody's playing really permanents if you're playing droplets. Very good for shutting effects down, just very good for controlling the game if you need to. So, that's my deck profile for right now. If you like, please subscribe, please share. I'll try to be streaming as much as I can on Twitch to show people how to play this deck. I feel like this deck is very good and very useful for what it can do. So please, if you like this deck, please definitely subscribe. And, well, enjoy it. And if you want to play this deck, it's very good to pick up. Alright, have a good one, everybody.